Hello everybody and welcome to this talk titled Heckmondwike 125, One Place Celebrated. Heckmondwike 125 was the celebration of Heckmondwike Grammar School's 125th anniversary this year. It's pretty much over with now, to be completely honest. It started mainly January when the actual celebration took place of the actual date when the school originally opened, and then we had an open date on the 1st of July. I was part of doing a lot of the bulk of the research, and I also started a one-place study out of this. So today's focus really is going to be collaboration. I think that's very important, and it's a lesson I've learned, and also creating events and creating the spaces for collaboration, and how no matter what aspect of research you're covering this from, whether it be family history, local history, or more probably primarily one-place studies, how this is important, and how you can have a little bit of fun and celebration. And if you see down there, I don't know if you'll be able to, that red circle is where I was on this photo. And I sort of label this "dangle me a carrot." And why, you ask? Well, it's pretty simple. This one-place study, this research of the school, wasn't something I did completely off my own back. I had an interest in doing the War Memorial. That was sort of the obvious next step for me after doing my Liverpool Cemetery book. But my history teacher, the head of department, mentioned that it was going to be the school's 125th anniversary. We'd done a little bit of a research club to not much avail. In about May of 2022, I began to focus. Now, had I known how many sources were available at that time, this focus would have been full on, but I didn't. And it was like a carrot that would dangle over me for the next year or so, as I term it there, utterly comprehensive archives the school had, but scattered about, became apparent. And the most obvious things sort of at the start was the school magazines, the Hecklers and the War Memorial. And so that summer I did the bulk of the War Memorial research. There are some pictures of some of the old boys. And the February 1906 edition, which was one of the earlier ones. So there is no text here. I'm simply going to go on through the journey I did via some of the sources. This is the roll book entry of everyone that went to the school pretty much up until the 40s, from 1898. Whether or not how comprehensive this was, because it may have been started a few years later and there are people in it in the index but not in the actual thing, it's a bit of a mess, as most things are. This man is Josiah Rhodes. He is absolute sort of stalwart figure in Heckmondwike. He, in his youth, I believe, was sort of the first chairman of the Heckmondwike School Board. He was part of what I personally term the liberal elite of the town, because they were members of the Liberal Party, typically nonconformist, and pretty much ran and built the town up to sort of how it's recognisable today. A lot of the institutions which have since closed from this period came from typically this more liberal inclined sort of middle class men. And he sort of represents this focus I suddenly had at this time period as well in discovering Heckmondwike's local history. It coincided discovering the school boards properly, doing the research into what the school boards were. It began to expand my horizons. Then I became more familiar with the story of Mr. Kyle, and this absolutely fascinated me, this story of this man coming from Ireland when he was a baby. His dad been serving in India in the army, serving during the Indian Mutiny of the 1850s. He married a lady in Ireland. They moved to Hull, of all places, where he was stationed as sort of like a drill master. And then he moved to York. Love York. Then he married in York. Then they moved to Halifax because he was a schoolmaster. He also went to somewhere down south to get educated. Then he's moving all over the shop. The kids are coming up. They come up to Norwich, and then he ends up serving sort of like the bulk of his career at Heckmondwike Grammar School. Or it wasn't known as that while he was there, but as his daughter would say, it was the school for him. And honestly, he's an inspiring figure to me today. Then you have the trophy cabinet, the pictures there, that just became another sort of thing. Then this book represents the discovery of everything known to man in the cupboard of my Year 8 RE classroom. Just sort of chilling there. No other way to put it. It was just there in boxes, and I did not get through all of that, despite them being somewhat of a catalogue, until just literally weeks before we had the event in July, and I first discovered this just after the anniversary celebrations in January. This photo represents the first sort of staff members, but then also like some random people I think they just sort of shoved in there, to be completely honest, to fill it up. I found a very low copy of this, quality copy of this photo, then another low copy quality of it. And this was located in a file which had other staff photos in which we looked through. So someone, you would have thought they would have seen this because it is so old. It was sort of a haunting thing because I really wanted this. I thought there must be an original somewhere, and then one day it just sort of arrived. The interest in the physical house cup as well was also sort of towards the drawing or closing period. And then this discovery of this little photo of Mr. Cahill, really, I just loved it. And it was in such of the most niche things. It was in a briefcase, which, you know, the dust would fall over you, it would nearly stain everything, containing the old boy's cash book and little notebook, and it was slotted in that. The day of the anniversary came. It was a lovely day. It wasn't so much the focus of this talk, but, you know, if you ever want to do something, part of your one-place study and be part of its history, this was the sort of day to be part of the big photo of all the students and to be there when they cut the cake, you know. Lovely little day, and it really brought into focus. It just felt like a nice day. Then the open day came, and I will show you this open day in just a moment, but this is a quote from my diary. I keep a diary inspired by my great-grandmother who did one, and she did it intermittently and sort of all over the place. And I thought, hey, well, someone might want my life, so I started one this summer. And I put more, but this was perhaps a good summary. Today was an amazing day, truly at the high end of my expectations. And you see, a lot of it is quite personal. It added a wealth of information, and one of this was this little card you could leave your memories. I wrote on behalf of a lady who had just turned 97. Miss Fox gave me lots of poetry books, one of them in Westwood Home. Miss Fox was a woman I knew about from reading, studying. She was in the staff, and she eventually married the second headmaster when they all retired, I believe. This lady knew her. She's still alive. She was there in the 40s. In fact, she was there in the 30s when Raymond Hinchcliffe, we have an autograph book which has his signature in. He died in the Second World War. She'll have known him, past him. Obviously didn't remember him, as he was a bit older. And it just became so apparent how this was such a distant time period, yet there were people here that were there. Now, this was the exhibition part. The parts I mainly did, you couldn't really fit it all in. It made sense to do these. You see some of the beautiful letters, photos. We have these sources. This is stuff I wrote up. The maps of this sort of the school. This is the whole process of this school coming into being, which is something I was very passionate about. These are just some of the beautiful sources we have on cuttings from the 1890s, documents, letters, reports from the Board of Education. All the beautiful sources on the First and Second World Wars, focus primarily upon the old boys and girls. You have Sarah Armitage, a very inspiring teacher, George Greenwood, a journalist. So the reflections from this, if that's spelled right, I can't tell from here, I like to call it one places by convenience. It's pretty simple. If you have a one-place study, please do it in a place that's convenient, where you've got family history, where you've got a local history interest, where you live, an institution you attended, such as my school, an institution where there are archives available. Don't pick something that's going to be too hard for you to do and too hard for you to do justice. Collaborating with others in celebrating this event also aided my understanding and illustrated the importance of engaging with others. And this weren't people that were interested in researching it, these weren't one-place studies, this was just a wider community. The information they can give you, whether you think they were born in the 50s and it's not an area of interest, will be key. And it must be a collaboration across a plethora of people in a variety of fields and context as well. I talked to so many different people throughout this whole process. And I think, importantly, it can be done. It was a difficulty, and I'm a very practical person putting this all together, and there was a team of us, but if you put your mind to it, you can get it done. And the whole process of this was as much learning about me, placing myself in just wider history, as well as learning about this place. And that is, in summary, one place celebrated. The key message I must stress is to do something which will be easy for you to do something but also that you enjoy doing, you feel passionate about. Allow yourself to learn about yourself and collaborate with others. I hope this is of some help to you to see what you can do. It's only a summary. You can Google and I'm sure find a little bit more, or get in touch with myself, and I'd love to discuss this any further if you've got any questions, etc. So all the best, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this event.